Hey, nerdy sports fan. Thursday night football post game. And it's weird to think that this game actually mattered. The Bears are just barely in playoff contention. And really, they're chasing a division rival. So this could get very interesting. The last playoff spot in the NFC, currently held by the Vikings, is now only one game away. One head-to-head matchup between the Bears and the Vikings would tip it towards the Bears if they won. So, yeah, exciting. The Bears have been crap for so long, and they're just miraculously playing and coaching themselves back into this playoff race. So, kudos to Matt Nagy. But they're really taking advantage of a bad Cowboys team. So last week we were talking about the Cowboys being the team that proved, hey, the Bills are actually for real. Maybe not, right? I mean, they just got run through by both of these teams in extremely similar ways. They kept on talking about it in the broadcast. Like, the opening drive was so successful for the Cowboys. It was 75 yards, 17 plays, touchdown. They looked dominant. And then nothing. Just nothing after that. They scripted plays extremely, extremely well. And then when they had to make adjustments, they couldn't. So you're starting to see why Jason Garrett is being talked about to be canned. Head coaching is so much more than just preparing your team. He's obviously pretty good at preparing the team. They generally have a good out-of-the-box game plan every week, offense and defense. They just, they can't adjust. They can't manage the end game. It's beyond him. So yes, Jason Garrett needs to be canned. But more than that, I think his defensive coaching staff is really letting him down. Scott Linehan seems to be avoiding all sorts of scrutiny because Jason Garrett's, getting scrutiny directly from the owner. But seriously, should every single defensive back in Dallas not have a job tomorrow? I vote yes, because they didn't want to tackle at all. There was no effort. None whatsoever. They missed tackles all over the field. They went for aggressive interception attempts instead of just sticking to their man, possibly batting the ball and getting a sound tackle multiple times, and got burned multiple times. Mitch Trubisky was making really risky throws, and a good defensive secondary takes advantage of that. The Bills, the Ravens, the 49ers, a team with a good defensive secondary would have murdered Mitch Trubisky this game, both in the running and passing game, because he was all over the field. You got to give it to him, though. I mean, 3 touchdowns through the air, another one on the ground. He's all over the place. He's really taking control of this offense from Matt Nagy. And, in spite of having multiple injuries on defense, their defense did enough for this offense to really shine. So when they were successful last season, it was because the defense was getting turnovers, they were getting short fields, they were getting out on top early, taking away the running game, and creating a situation where they can just build and build and build on that turnover base. Because when you're getting pressure on the quarterback, there's no running game, and you have a good defensive secondary, you get turnovers. And they managed to play like that again today. They were able to take the running game away, take Zeke out of the game, because at one point they were up 31-7. Nobody's running the ball like that. And Amari Cooper was a ghost. There's obviously still something wrong with that knee, because there's no way he doesn't dominate in the slot against the people that he was matching up against. No way. So either he's not healthy, or Dak just wasn't looking his way. I don't know. Either way, it's all sorts of stupid. You can see why people talk about Dak not necessarily being worth the money he's going after. Because you have a lot of games like this where his stat line is really, really padded by garbage time. And Amari Cooper got himself a touchdown. They got yards. Amari Cooper did not have a game. Okay, fantasy football wise, he looks great. A deep touchdown, some yards, he's not hurt. Awesome. Real football, where the hell was that guy in the first 3 quarters? Seriously. It just... And this is the difference between real football and fantasy football. Garbage time matters in fantasy football. In real football, that's getting your ass kicked out of town. So, Chicago's got a lot of turnover that they need to... I'm sorry, not Chicago. Dallas has a lot of turnover they need to institute in the offseason. Essentially the entire coaching staff. They have a very talented roster. It's more top-heavy. They need depth. They need a culture tune-up. And they need a defense that isn't so damn vanilla. I'm sorry, Mr. Linehan. I understand when you were with the Bears, you could be vanilla and nobody could stop you because you had so much talent. And a few years with Dallas, you could be really vanilla. But everybody knows exactly what you're doing the moment they line up. There's no disguise. There's nothing exotic about it. And if Mitch Trubisky can knife through your defense, maybe you need to make a change. Just saying. So, on the Bears side of things, again, very, very interesting. Their schedule looks kind of favorable at the end of the season. And if they stick to it, and Mitch Trubisky continues to make progress in his 3rd year, they could sneak into the playoffs. And everybody would have written him off in the beginning of the season. They could be dangerous in the playoffs because, hey, they can make field goals now. Yeah. They had 3 main defenders out. Prince Amukamara, Danny Trevathan, and they lost another linebacker in this one. But the backups came to play. They were making plays. They're getting in the backfield, tackles for loss, sacks on the quarterback. It didn't seem to matter. So maybe they've created a certain amount of depth there in Chicago where the front 7, they could stand to lose some people, invest in the offense a bit more next season, and do some more damage in this division. Because, yes, Green Bay looks good, Minnesota looks good, but so do the Bears. If Mitch Trubisky actually is making progress and he gets better than he was at the beginning of this season, they could do some damage. So, I mean, congrats, Chicago fans. Your team actually looks like a real team now after this game. Maybe it's just Dallas on a Thursday night is the cure to all the team's woes because, I mean, the Bills beat them more handily, but again, only because of garbage time in this game. The Bears stopped bothering defending them because the clock was their 12th defender. They were out in front by so much with so little time left. It almost didn't matter what Dallas was going to bring to the table. There was no chance for them to come back for at least half of the 4th quarter. It just didn't matter anymore. So, bad game for Dallas. Fire Jason Garrett tomorrow. Fire Scott Linehan now. Great game for Chicago. They're getting right. The running game was key. Both Mitch Trubisky and David Montgomery running the rock early got them in position to where they took control of the tempo and later the game. That's the story here. Hit up my other videos for some fantasy football advice for this weekend. It is week 1 of the fantasy football playoffs, so I know you guys are itching for those late pickups that could win in the playoffs, and I got plenty of them for you. There's a fantasy football primer, an updated power ranking before this week, but you know. And like and subscribe if you enjoy the content. I really appreciate you guys. Let's keep the conversation going. I'll hit up another post-game video this weekend.